How did you then get into automated trading? Because obviously, you used to manual trade and then you went to automated trading. And I believe in automated trading is when you truly seen some insane success.
Yeah. So when I was actually learning from you, and I was in a few of your order flow groups and stuff like that, you started coming up with the ideas of, automated trading and stuff like that. And I was very skeptical upon it. Like, I was like,
as was I.
a robot that just makes money in the markets. So I was very skeptical of it, and I started seeing a lot of people making money from it in your group with some of the first algorithms you had. And that's when I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give this a try. So I did, and I started learning more about it. I started learning how it worked and stuff like that. And it was actually very, very good. And so that's where I've gotten to now. So it was just in the groups I was with you in, yeah.
Interesting. And let's break down the journey a little bit for you, right? When you first got the robot, how easy or how difficult was it? And we're not necessarily trying to speak just about the QTS robot here. We're just trying to speak about algorithmic trading in general, regardless of what robot that people end up buying or what people end up making. How hard is it to make that manual trading shift into algorithmic trading? Is there things that you have to change, or how's the change?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like setting it up and all that stuff, it was actually not the hardest process in the world, but I think because I came from manual trading, that I had quite an advantage with it, because obviously there still is a bit of emotion with algorithms and stuff like that, just letting it run and holding those trades during certain periods. I think my manual trading definitely helped that a lot, and my emotion management that I had to learn through that definitely helped, yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think that like moving from manual trading to automated trading, that the automated trading becomes like just one fix all solution where the emotions are all out the window, you'll never lose again, the strategy is perfect. But that's not true. I think more so it just makes and simplifies your manual trading a lot more. It's a lot more less time consuming. You don't have to deal with those emotional obstacles as much, because there's a separate entity that's trading out there for you, that's taking decisions on your behalf, executing the trades on your behalf, managing the trades on your behalf, exiting the trades on your behalf. But yeah, a lot of people do think that it doesn't do that whatsoever. I think it just makes life a lot easier. But there definitely is specific aspects that you still have to kind of get accustomed to. Still, like there is certain emotional aspects. For example, I think we can all agree on this, and I think we've seen a lot of people make this mistake before, is with automated trading, the potential to make money is so much easier, and the percentages are like so much higher, which I think we all know what that eventually ends up what it leads people to do. It's to over risk, is to run the robot 24/7, try and make as much money with the robot as possible. And I feel like that's a massive pit that people fall into, is that they see the robot performs a little bit well and they just kind of go all in.
Definitely. Like that is a very, very popular thing, especially when you go from making like 10% a night, stuff like that, and you keep trying to push further and further to the point where you're like making like 30% in one night. And it's just so unrealistic that it cannot sustain that long enough. And eventually you get to a point where you keep pushing it and you eventually just blow your account.
What do you think actually is a sustainable amount to be making?
Personally, I target 5 to 10% weekly. That seems to be my best zones, and I'll stop trading once I hit that. Even if I go, I can make more, I don't like to push it. Just 5 to 10% weekly, and that's all I like to stick with.
So a lot of people will come at you and they will say that you're taking a piss, you're lying. In the sense, not that you're lying that how much you're making, it's just that they believe that what you're doing is not sustainable, because most hedge funds out there and the best of the best traders make sometimes only, if maximum, 5% a month. So what do you say to those people? Like, how can you justify the profits that you actually make on a week-to-week basis? 5 to 10% seems insane.
Yeah. I mean, if I was managing $5 billion, I'd target 5% as well monthly.
Interesting, yeah.
Because I'm on personal accounts and a lot smaller amounts, like I just like to target, my 5 to 10%, and that seems to work just very well.
So it's essentially a risk to reward thing, I guess. It's just more so that those hedge funds are targeting so much, they have so much capital under their control that, well, they're just happy with 2 to 3%. It's not that they can't make the 10, 15, 20%. It's just that they don't want to go through that much drawdown. Whereas I assume you have some sort of a plan where even if you go into 50% drawdown, that doesn't really hurt you that much, right?
Yeah, that doesn't really affect me. But imagine a 50% drawdown on like billions.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they've got to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So like for them to just target 5% monthly, they don't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing about it is, another thing is, the hedge fund is managing their other people's money.
Yeah,
You're managing your own money. So at the end of the day, taking the risk of your own money is literally not as bad as taking the risk of other people's money. And here's the thing, right? A lot of people think that with robot trading, you can just create money out of nowhere, which has some sort of truth to it. But I see robot trading as a way, and Forex trading in general, as a way to kind of just compound what you already have. Right? And the thing about it is, in order to make serious returns with this technique of compounding what you already have, you need to have hundreds of thousands in capital. And if you don't, and you only have like 5K, 10K, then you need to take extraordinary amount of risk to actually make something that is sustainable, to make sustainable amounts of profit. And I think the best way to do that is to, first and foremost, have an insane strategy. You're going to have some insane drawdown, sometimes 30, 40, even 50%. But the beautiful thing is, if you can get pretty lucky at the start and make a decent amount of profits that covers your initial capital, you're eventually then left playing with just trading profits. And probably maybe a year's time and 2 years' time, you'll eventually blow that account. But the idea behind it is that you've made your money, right? A lot of people are struggling, and they're just like, they're looking for so much sustainability. They're looking for very, very long-term growth. I totally understand. Most people want that. But if you're looking for those type of returns, then go into real estate, right? Go into very, very low-risk stocks. Go into something that's not that risky. You can't come in to shark waters and expect not to be bitten by the shark. There's the risk of you being bitten by the shark. If you don't want to be bitten by the shark, then go swim in a flipping swimming pool, right?
Exactly.
It's as simple as that. And it's funny because obviously you take an insane amount of risk, right? As we've already established, you make 5 to 10% every single week, which equals to about 20 to 40% every single month. What have your drawdown levels been on that type of gain?
Targeting 5 to 10% weekly. I only see drawdowns of around 12%. Like that's the maximum I've ever really had in that. Yeah,
pretty good.
So understanding that and going, look, I can sleep with 12% drawdown perfectly fine. So like obviously I can target more, but sleeping with larger amounts of drawdown, it's a very difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And do you run the robot? Just established, by the way, you use the QTS 2.0 robot on these, right? You use the QTS robot. Cool. And when you run the QTS robot, do you run it on just like one account with all your money in it, or do you like diversify your capital? What's your kind of risk management strategy here, other than just the robot itself and risking low lots? What's your diversification plan here?
I actually have around three accounts, like equally spread out. So I do one account where I like to take a bit more risk on. I do another account I like to keep just managed perfectly fine, and I have one larger account which I actually send all my profits into, and that's just on a low compounding percentage. Yeah.
And how much do you aim for on that low compounding account?
I aim for only around 1 to 2% a week. That's all, because I like to keep that very safe, just to kind of like beat inflation. It's kind of like keeping it in a bank account for me.
Interesting, yeah. It's pretty smart, actually, yeah. And without giving us like an exact number, like your trading accounts, how much kind of capital, just the average amount of capital that is in those trading accounts, just so people can kind of understand what numbers we're playing with here.
Like my actual trading account size, like
like how much capital you have using that's being used currently on the robot.
Okay, so in my kind of safe savings account, I have over 100K in there.
Okay, nice. Nice.
And my other accounts are a bit smaller than that, yeah.
Okay, very nice, very nice. So you're trading about 6 figures in capital. And how do you feel having 6 figures in capital just on the line with this robot? Do you feel safe, be honest? Or is it more so a thing where like, you know that there's massive risk to this and you could eventually blow it all? What's your kind of mindset game here? Because I know it's very difficult. And even, for somebody that has like millions of dollars, even just having 100K in a Forex account, letting a separate entity do it for you, it's pretty difficult to trust something like that, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Like I obviously have my risks sorted out, like have equity protectors, all those kind of things. So nice. I know like worst case scenario, I can only lose like 20%. That's honestly not the end of the world for me. So like that's absolute worst case scenario. And even then, like my personal savings account, that's fine. Like,
and with the amount that you're making anyways, all it takes is like 1 to 2 weeks to get back to break even, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking about worst case scenarios, have you actually ever fell into like a worst case scenario before? Or?
I have actually.
You have, yeah? And what was that like?
That was difficult. It was difficult, but I knew like, hit my equity my equity drawdown, I knew it's going to be like 2-3 weeks.
Now, what was the reason for that? Why do you think, like, did you run it on days maybe you were supposed to run it, or was it, what was the reason that you took that massive loss? Or was it just like part of the game?
Honestly, like, it wasn't even the algorithm that did that.
Yeah?
That was me personally.
Also, it was a manual trade?
Yeah.
Oh, really, yeah? And what
Yeah.
what type of manual trade was it then?
It was a very rough prediction on gold. I was right in the end, but I didn't have enough equity in that account to sustain it.
Yeah, you're a crazy guy. For the people that don't understand, and for the people that don't understand the time we're in right now, the elections, like, he took the trade like just before the elections. So you can only imagine how rough gold was at that time. So I guess that was a little bit of a lesson for you to let the trading for the robots instead of your own manual skills, right?
Yeah. The robots haven't actually failed me. It was mainly just personal failures that caused that.
Fair enough. And okay, we've looked at, I mean, your worst kind of experience with it. What was the biggest amount that you've made in a single day with trading? Because I think the viewers like love hearing about this stuff. This is things that it's not necessarily like for bragging or flexing. It's just really for inspiration on what you can really do. And obviously, we're not going to mention your age on this podcast, but from obviously people can tell that you are pretty young, and this is massive inspiration for everyone else out there, that's getting into trading in general and getting into the Forex robot space in general. So what was the biggest day that you made in profits?
The biggest day I've done was around 5 figures. Like, it was over 15,000 I made in a day.
Amazing.
And that was right before I booked my tickets to Dubai.
Sick.
I was like, yeah,
Sick.
time to go.
Nice. And how did you actually feel about that? How did you feel making that much money?
Honestly, sometimes it feels like you're in a dream and you're about to wake up, because it feels like it's just like unrealistic sometimes. Like, you feel like, is this real? Did I actually do this? And it's only when you actually withdraw the money from your broker that you actually remember that's real.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, it's just numbers on the screen when it's in your broker.
Exactly.